Well, the Abrams family have always been a very close family to me. I've been knowing them for, oh gosh, for years since we've been in this building.
I look at him like family. He's kind of like, I would probably call him like an uncle.
He's a brother with swag. There's a lot of swag with him. If you ever go bowling with him, when we have our church groups, he even bowls with swag. He has his towel with him. He's an example. If someone asked me to give a picture of what a NewB couple would look like, you would have no problem using the Abrams.
So my name is Latasha Shobe Hayes. I've been practicing, so this is my first year out of residency. I did a residency in Dayton, Ohio in internal medicine. And I am now a practicing attending here at Community Network. So for the most part, that Sunday was like any other Sunday. I woke up and I knew that I wanted to go to church. The only difference about this Sunday was that I didn't know what church I was going to go to. So I proceeded to get on the highway, and I just remember the Lord telling me to go to New Beginnings. It's just that blatant in my mind. So that's where I went. So when I walked in, I was greeted at the door by one of the ushers. She was very friendly. She told me to wait before being seated, which makes sense because I believe there was prayer going on. But nevertheless, I waited, and I quickly was able to get into the sanctuary. And I thought to myself, I'm going to sit in the back. I'm just going to be in the back and, get my praise on, unnoticed, unseen. That was my thought process.
That day, to me, it was a Sunday like pretty much any other Sunday.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. I got here for our 1045 service, and worship was just amazing. And so as I stood to get ready to preach, it was our Jersey Sunday too. So we were wearing our jerseys and all. So it was just a great worship.
I was serving earlier that day. I had seen Brother Lonnie, and he was doing his normal due diligence. He was up front, saying hi to people as he always does and passing out peppermints. Seemed like a normal day.
I stand, and in my standing to preach, the Spirit of God was moving so powerfully in that moment where I was struggling to go into my regular routine of my prayer and get ready to preach, because it was just so powerful in that moment. And so I was thinking to myself, wow, it's a strong possibility I may not be able to preach at this service.
And it was shortly after the sermon had began. I just remember looking over to my right and seeing an unusual group of, size group of people standing over there. And it just didn't feel normal. There wasn't a loud commotion or anything of that nature, but there was definitely a lot of people kind of congregating in the aisle. And I just immediately thought, you need to be over there.
And I noticed that I seen Brother Lonnie, and it looked like he was trying to get up, and he kind of like slumped over. And I seen other members kind of like lay him down on the floor. And at that point and moment, I still was not quite sure of the severity of what was really going on. I didn't know if, did he need somebody to help him with a wheelchair? Did he pass out? And then all of a sudden, I started seeing the crowd started to get bigger around him.
I made my way through the crowd, and when I looked down, I did see that there was a gentleman on the ground, and he did appear to not be alive.
Right now, wait, hold up. This is what we need. Let's pause for a moment. We're getting ready to pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you. I don't care what the devil says. I come against you right now in the name of Jesus. That, Father, you will restore his body right now in the name of Jesus. That you will restore, his heart will beat again. Right now, God, in the name of Jesus.
I believe you, God. You are going to make it happen right now, God. You will heal his body right now, God. You will restore him right now, God, in the name of Jesus. Touch him now, God. Touch him right now from the crown of his head to the sole of his feet.
So I jumped up, and time I got around, first thing I saw was him laying on the floor. And I thought, oh my God, what is going on?
There were people who were taking turns giving him CPR, and he was not responding.
When something like this happens, anyone would be in shock. But I knew that I didn't have enough time to think about, what to do.
And I remember the doctor, she said, I'm a doctor. She said, let me take over. And when she said that, it was impressed in my spirit to get to the altar. And even when I looked down and saw Lonnie laying there with his eyes open and all I could see was the white of his eyes, I knew he was dead.
By this time, we're about 2, maybe 3 minutes into CPR. And to be honest, I'm considering the, likelihood or unlikelihood of him surviving this.
At that moment, I remember telling God, I'm not just here to give a prayer. I want to get to your throne and beg you for mercy for him.
So maybe 4 or 5 minutes in, I then stopped. It was time to check for a pulse again. And I just noticed his chest rise. And that was a sign of life. I then checked for a pulse, and he had a very faint pulse, but it was a pulse. So we then immediately stopped everything that we were doing. And I remember speaking to him and asking him to squeeze my hand, and he did. Very faint, but he was able to do it, which he was not able to do before.
As only Brother Lonnie could do to confirm that he was okay. He threw his hands in the air. When he threw his hands in the air, that's when the church went ham.
I lost it. I lost it because it was a moment where I'm thinking, God, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. But you did. And I am so grateful you did.
The Lord put me to sleep. Just like that, the most peaceful sleep I ever had. During this sleep, I wake up in my mind. I wake up, okay? There's a guy in front of me. And all I know in my mind, I have to follow this guy. I'm following him. He's got on long biblical clothing, long brownish blonde hair, and he's carrying a staff. Didn't say a word, didn't turn around, didn't see his face, but I know I gotta follow him. I follow him, and all of a sudden he's gone. I look around, and I'm in a graveyard. There's graves everywhere. And the Lord said to me, he said, look down. And I looked down, at the bottom of my feet was a grave. And I'm saying, whoa, what's going on? And he said, yes, this is for you. It's not finished yet. And I'm not finished with you. I have more for you to do. And I woke up. The next thing I know, I'm on the floor, and my wife comes running up to me, and she's crying. After 33 years of marriage, I know this cry. So I'm thinking in my mind, somebody made my wife cry. Somebody got to get got. Okay, I got to go talk to somebody about this, okay? Win or lose, somebody got to get got. So she says to me, she says, you passed out. They're going to take you to the hospital. So next thing I know is I'm going out to church on the gurney, the ambulance gurney, and I look up and people are just, it was a weird feeling. They had their hands over their faces. People are crying. And I just raised my hand and said, oh, I'm okay. And everybody started applauding. Now, the applause that NewB gave me, I will never forget. Because the whole time I was sick and in that hospital, not feeling well, I could feel the prayers of NewB and my family and all my friends. I could feel those prayers. This is a praying church. I know I'm at the right church. I was at the right church because at the same time that this whole thing happened, God orchestrated everything. He had me in the right place, the right situation, the right time. The right person was working on me, the right equipment they had. The whole thing was not for me.
But when I look back over everything and then I compare it to the experiences that I've had as a medical student or a resident or a physician, I've never seen a situation in which a person without a pulse, they're obviously unable to respond, they are dead. They have no access to any other medical device. They have no medications, that you would have in the hospital. They don't have all of the telemetry, is what we call it, to monitor the heart. They don't have all of the advances that we have in science to help them pull through this. This is what I witnessed in the sanctuary. All this gentleman had was prayer. Certainly he had us doing these compressions and he had the AED, but I've seen in situations in my profession where patients had everything to their disposal, everything that science could ever ask or offer, and they still not make it through. In this instance, he had none of those things, but he is here today. So when I think about it like that, I know that God is real. I know that God was there. And I know that God is the only reason why that gentleman was able to leave the church alive on that day.
Say, here's where the